actually Teacher Appreciation Week. So, because of that, I just wanted to point out a few teachers that actually helped me and inspired me to become a teacher or a band director. So let me just go ahead and get started. There's 5 of them. So first off, there was Miss Winowski. Miss Winowski was my first grade teacher. She was also my 2 older brothers' first grade teachers and 3 of my older cousins' first grade teacher. She was the first teacher that I had in a private school. I went to public school for kindergarten. I went to private school for 1st grade through 8th grade. So she was my first teacher. She made me feel very, very comfortable because by that point, everybody else in my class had already been in a class together. They all went to kindergarten together. So yeah. So she made me very comfortable. I was pretty shy at the time. And yeah, the thing that touched me the most and brings up a lot of emotions for me with Miss Winowski is the fact that my grandfather passed away that year that I was in her class. And he had lung and I believe it was kidney or liver cancer. And I remember it really well that everybody was getting ready to go to PE and she told me to stay in the classroom. And she let me know that my grandfather had passed away. And my mom wasn't going to pick me up because she just thought school was going to be a good distraction for me. So I was crying in the room. My grandfather was already deteriorating, so it was coming. I knew that. But, as a 1st grader, you don't really comprehend it, really. And she gave me this card with the Lord's Prayer on it. She prayed with me, and she gave me a card. It had the 2 girls crossing over the bridge with the guardian angel behind them. I actually still have that card. So because of that, she didn't have to do that. She could have just left me in the room, So because of that, she just has a place in my heart. Also, my nieces, my 2 older nieces, they actually had her as a 1st grade teacher as well. So when we would go to the programs to see them in their programs, their spring and winter concerts or whatever, she would remember us, and she remembered us by name. Now my name is pretty hard to pronounce, and she could pronounce it, and she knew us. So that was really cool. Next is my 4th grade teacher, Mrs. Brown. Now, before Mrs. Brown, I already knew I wanted to be a teacher, but she sort of solidified it for me. Mrs. Brown brought a love of learning to me. She made it so much fun. I would study so hard for her classes because of the fun that we had learning. So the biggest thing that she would do in her class is she would do what was called shootouts. So she would break the class into 2 groups. And then she would bring us, whichever topic we were trying to learn. If we were getting close to a test, she would have one person from each group go up to the chalkboard. Yes, chalkboards at this time, not dry erase boards. And she would ask a question or give a definition, and the first person to write down the answer on the board would get a point for their team, and that was so much fun. It just brought in this competition for us and everything, and we were all like, oh, we're gonna win. And we would study because we wanted our team to win whenever a shootout came up. Also during this time we were learning states and capitals and stuff like that, so she would bring down the map. The first person to point at the state or point at the city that she mentioned would get the point for their team. So I loved it, and I think everybody in that class loved it, because I still talk to some of the people that I went to school with, and we still all have very fond moments of her. She also was a huge Green Bay Packer fan. She was actually from Wisconsin. She loved dinosaurs, the TV show with the baby that said "Not the Mama." And another thing she did was she had Dead on Target. If you fell asleep in her class, like I said, she had a chalkboard. if you fell asleep in our class, she would throw eraser bombs at you. So there was one time that this kid fell asleep. This kid actually ended up being my husband's cousin. He fell asleep. He had this huge, like, thick black hair, and she saw him, and she's like, shh, you know, grabbed the eraser and chunked at him. It hit him dead on in the middle, chalk side down, so he looked like a skunk, and it was hilarious, and he never fell asleep in class again. So it didn't hurt him because she didn't throw it hard or anything, but it was just like this perfect glide and just like perfection. It was great. And of course she did the whole football thing of goal, so so she was awesome, and I really, yeah, she was an influential teacher for me. The next one would be my first band director. I had him from 4th grade to 8th grade, or 9th grade actually. His name was Mr. Leonard. Now, Mr. Leonard started a school of music for students that were in private school. In private school, we had music class, but we never had band or anything like that. And he gave us that opportunity. Now, Mr. Leonard actually helped me decide that, since I already knew I wanted to be a teacher, he solidified that I was going to be a band director because of the love he instilled in me for music. I got so many opportunities that most kids do not get a chance to do. And by that, I mean, I learned music theory. I started learning music theory back in 4th grade. Nowadays, you don't start learning music theory until like junior high, but it's not as advanced as we had gotten. Some of the stuff that I learned 4th and 5th grade, I had when I was in college. So yeah, like, I got this huge opportunity through him. I also learned 3 instruments within my first 2 years of being with Mr. Leonard. So you just don't get that type of opportunity anymore. So he holds a special place in my heart because of that. The next one would be my other band director, my high school band director from 9th to 12th grade, Mr. Standridge. Mr. Standridge instilled passion and professionalism as far as being a musician goes. I was in Mr. Standridge's jazz band. He was also the music director as well, but jazz band is like where it was at for me in high school. I've never been in an ensemble ever like that since. We were our own little family in jazz band, and we would get together, study the music. We would try to imitate what we would hear. There's songs that we pulled off that, listening to recordings now, I cannot believe that it was a high school group. You know, it was amazing what we were able to pull off. And I know we still talk to him. He's actually in one of the Facebook groups that we made for him, and or in honor of him. And you know, he talks to us, and he's like, you know, you guys make it seem like it was me that did this, but it was all y'all. And he's just like very humble when it comes to it. And he says that those were one of the greatest moments that he had teaching was when we were there. So he's just an amazing person, and I'm so jealous of his students that he has right now. So I hope they are treating him well. So the last one would have to be my college band director from my last school that I went to. His name's Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson is an amazing director. He knows his stuff. He walks in the first day of class. He's already studied all the scores. He knows what he wants to hear. He was always prepared for class. There was never a time where you were just like, oh, he didn't get any sleep last night or anything like that. Like, he was always right there, you know. And I would go, he had like so many stories of experiences and everything and stuff that he studied, that I would just go into his office, and like I would say, I would become a sponge and try to soak up anything and everything he would say. And I think that really helped me a lot become, you know, a good band director, you know, or at least I hope I'm a good band director. So, yeah, like, I've gotten so much advice from him. He's the person that if I have a question, I run to, you know. I actually have his number saved in my cell phone. We text regularly. So it's just, he's my mentor. He's definitely very, very influential. Not to mention, I was getting ready, you know, I was living in Texas, and we found out we were moving to Savannah, and I wrote him, and I wrote the director at the other college in Savannah. Mr. Johnson messaged me within, I think, within the next 12 hours. So the next day I woke up and I had an email from him saying, "This is wonderful, you know, I'm glad to hear that you're interested in coming here. I will be mailing you," he's like, "give me your address and I will mail you information about our ensembles, about our program, about," yeah, he's just sent me a whole bunch of stuff. I got their promotional CD of all their ensembles and everything, which was completely awesome. He had just helped another military spouse transfer over, so he had that experience, and he said, "Well, if you're interested in coming to the school, just go ahead and send me your transcripts, and I'll start helping you out on what you need to do, and what will transfer over here." And he helped me get as many credits as possible. He also helped me with the classes that the school was on the iffy side of. He gave me advice. He's like, you know, just if you have any of your syllabuses left, you know, these are the people that you need to walk to, the department heads, and go talk to them and see if the syllabus is close enough that they will give you credit for. And sure enough, there was a few that actually gave me credit. So if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have graduated when I did. So, and he also helped me get my first job. He's the one that told me that I got the job. Sorry, my phone went a little wonky. But yeah, he told me that I got my first job. Because he's like, hey, you know, he has a lot of pull in the district, and he knew the guy that was hiring, and he was like, he had just finished talking to him, and he picked up the phone, called me, and was like, "Well, it looks like you're gonna have to get off the couch because you're a band director now." And I was like, "What?" So yeah, he's an amazing guy. So yeah, those are my influences and teachers that I just feel so lucky having had, and I appreciate them very, very much. Now there are others, but those are the 5 that really, really stick out. So yeah, if you have any teachers, if you want to share, I would love to hear your experiences with teachers. Hopefully you had as good as teachers as I did, and good experiences like that with your teachers. And don't forget to video response, because I would love to see other people's stuff and sort of give homage to teachers out there. So yeah, that's it for me. I will talk to y'all later. Bye.